Welcome, John, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Bones, this new album, Vomit, more things relating to the metal world, starting with a common question that I've been asked a lot of artists. How have you been during these crazy times? Because we started a pandemic 2 years ago, now a war in Europe. So who knows what happened next couple of years? Alien invasion, zombie apocalypse, the machine takes the power.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy lately, isn't it? I mean, it's, but what are you going to do? You know what I mean? We're just doing what we normally do, just kind of put our nose down. We just go to practice, play music. We don't really get involved in politics or any of that kind of shit. So, just trying to stay alive like everybody else.
Yeah. So I feel Vomit has a difference of 3 years with Deceased. So perhaps this new album was composed and written during the pandemic, or was it before?
No, it was mostly before. We were going to start recording it in 2020, and then the pandemic actually slowed it down. We were just going to go in the studio, and everything closed down. We couldn't go in the studio for a while. So in some ways it was good. We just kept writing and working and practicing, but the material was written mostly in 2019.
Okay. So you have more than 10 years of existence, and 12 years of existence in general. So you have your 4 albums into there. So how do you see now the career into Bones' career? Because along more than 10 years, what things, how many things changed for you since the beginning to now?
I mean, it's like everything in life, there's a lot of little things that have changed, but the main things are all still the same, and the 3 of us in Bones, we've been in different bands together since, I've been with the drummer since 94, the guitar player since 2000s. We were in bands before Bones. So most of the things are still the same. You know what I mean? We get together, we hang out, we make loud music, we just do our dumb shit. You know what I mean? But the everything else that changes it's all small stuff.
Okay. So if we try to, I saw during your old discography that into the 4 albums that the first 2 were released by Planet Metal, and then the next one was released by Transcending Obscurity Records from Kunal, and now you are releasing this new album by Disorder Recordings. So why the band changed in 4 albums, different labels? So what is the complete reason? What is the reason that the band changed with labels?
Well, the first label, Planet Metal, we would have stayed with them forever, just because the guy that ran it was Chris Maycock, who's a really good friend of ours, and he lives right down the street from me. And it was just really easy, basically. But he just kind of put his album on hiatus, or his label on hiatus. So that dried up. And then we went with Kunal for an album, and that was great. I mean, Kunal was phenomenal. We were proud to be on the label. He put out like a box set and all kinds of crazy stuff, and that was great. But with the pandemic and everything, he had to kind of downsize his label too. So we didn't really make the cut on that. And Disorder Recordings, it's my friend Jeff Wilson. We were in a band together years ago. And again, he's a friend, he's local. So it's always nicer to work with people that you know and respect. And Jeff is definitely one of those people.
Okay. Well, into the first 2 albums, you use into the cover art a black and white color art. Well, when the skeleton's there, I love the bones into there one. It's normally about so. But since your 3rd album, Disease, you use a little yellow into the color, using the bones in color in the red and in the red color in the logo. But now you are use a lot of colors into there. And I try to relate the aspect with the old movies, from the terror movies from the 60s and 80s. That's the color. So why the band decide to change the colors?
Well, I mean, so the first album, the cover was a collaboration between Putrid Matt Carr, the artist, and Christina Casperson, who Christina made our logo, and then the 2 collaborated for the first cover. After the first album, we used Matt for the second album and the 3rd album, so for Sons of Sleaze and Diseased. And we just told Matt, just kind of do whatever you want to do. Matt also lives in Chicago, so we would have him go out to practice, we'd smoke some weed, drink some beer, play him the new album, and then kind of tell him what ideas we had. And then Matt would go home and he would do whatever he wanted to do. So yeah, he added the color on the last, on Diseased, just because he wanted to do it. On this album, we wanted to change it up a little bit. So we went with Christina Casperson, who collaborated on the first album, and she did all the artwork on the second one. And we just told her, just do whatever you want to do. And she wanted to use color, and we thought it would be a good idea to kind of change it up a little bit. And we saw what she sent over, and we thought it was great. It is kind of those 80s like movie colors in a way, but it's also just kind of gross. You know what I mean? I mean, the album's called Vomit, and the colors are like yeah, it looks like vomit gas. You know what I mean? It's disgusting. So we thought it was great, and we thought we would just go with it. You know.
Okay, okay. So well, I saw that always you are into, or you were into a label, when underground labels like Disorder, Transcending. So, and how do you see now the distribution? Because Disorder Recordings is a very underground level. Not many people know around the world. So if you want to sell perhaps overseas, Europe, Latin America, how will you see these aspects to distribute your music?
You know, I'm not really sure exactly how he does that. And yeah, he is an underground label, but we're also a really underground band, right? I mean, we don't have tens of thousands of fans, and we don't tour. And, you know, I mean, we've been around for a long time, and even before Bones, we've been around in the music scene for a long time. We've been around the world and other stuff, but you know, we're not a big band. And so the way the music industry is right now, it's pretty messed up. I mean, it's hard to sell records. It's hard, you know, postage is so expensive. It's hard to sell anything overseas. It's hard to send a t-shirt. You know, you send a t-shirt overseas, it's like you're embarrassed to charge for what it costs to go to the post office, you know. So how all those details are going to work out, I'm not really sure yet. But it is available. We're an underground band, and we're just going to do our best to just try to get it out there to whoever we can get it out to.
Okay. In talking about the sound, well, I remember when I hear for the first time in 2011 your self-titled album Balls, because I really liked that at that time. Then Songs of the Sleaze is the same sound, more crust, more ancient in some aspects, and raw in some aspects. Then the Disease is something like that, and now you are more. So that's very interesting in this new album, because you are back to the old stuff. So more old stuff than the first, or than the three previous records. You're more cavernous stuff into this record. So
Huh, I never really thought of it like that. Do you mean with the actual sound or with the
actual sound they from the new album? Because the new album is more cavernous compared with the three people. That's amazing for me. That's why I love. So how do you see the sound? How do you evolve? Do you think these cavernous is perhaps evolved from the sound from Bones since the beginning to now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, in the beginning, I really wanted it to sound like very raw, you know, like no overdubs, no production, you know, one guitar, you know, we're a 3-piece. So one guitar, one bass, one vocal, one drum, not overdub like 5 guitars like most albums do or most bands do. And the first album, we even panned it so like the guitar came out of the right speaker and the bass came out of the left speaker, like super old school, like, you know, how old Van Halen or Manowar used to do. It was just really raw and basic. And then we kind of, as we went on, we kind of just got talked into like, you know, all right, let's do a rhythm track behind the solo. And we would do it, and we tried it, and it sounded good. But we've always used the same studio for all 4 albums. There's a studio in Chicago called Electric Audio. It's run by this guy, Steve Albini, who's actually kind of a famous producer. He did like a Nirvana record and some other stuff. So the studio is actually state of the art. But it's funny because we come in there and we wanted to record the whole album in like 2 days because we got no money. So it comes out sounding really raw and rough because that's what we sound like. So we didn't purposely try to make this one sound any different than the other ones. I mean, they've always changed a little bit because as we get older, we just kind of change, our sound evolves and it changes. But it's interesting that you think it sounds more cavernous than the other ones. We don't really compare it. Like we don't go in and like, all right, we want it to sound this way. We just come in and play, and they set up the mics, and however it comes out is however it comes out. So, but I really like the way this one sounded. I hope you do too. You know.
Okay, so with this aspect or with this subject that as you said, well, the physical sales are no longer anymore like the 80s or like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So now are all always digital, and with this aspect, the new generation prefers to hear the music with one, two singles, no more. Then they prefer to hear more bands, more band. So what is your action plan to sell more CDs, to hear all album in not just 2 or 3 songs from this new one?
I mean, it's hard because to do that, you have to be able to kind of like figure out the entire industry, right? I mean, it's hard. The only thing we can do is just kind of write the best songs that we can write the best album that we can write, and put it out. And hopefully someone's going to want to listen to the whole fucking album, right? Not just 2 songs, and a lot of it is just the way that everything's promoted. They pick 3 songs. These are going to be released or like, showcased or whatever. And you get like a little push for a few weeks, and it's just a handful of songs, and then that's it. And the nature of the internet and just the way things are now, there's not like the attention span that there used to be. I mean, it's, I'm an old guy. I'm from the 80s and the 90s, and I would buy a record, and I would buy the vinyl, and I would read every lyric and read every person on the thanks list, and go through all that. And nowadays it just isn't like that. The emphasis on packaging and details, there's no room for details anymore. You just have to have like something flashy that gets up there right away, and everybody takes a look at it, and that's it. And I find myself doing it, just, I mean, I download almost all my music now, you know what I mean? It's just, I listen to it on my phone, I listen to it on my earphones, you know what I mean? It's a whole different world out there. So, being an underground band, we're not really concerned with like selling 1 million records. We've never made any money at this, we don't make any money from, we might make a couple bucks if we play a show, but like literally like a couple $100 that we split between 3 guys. I mean, it's not like, we're not doing this for the money. We're not doing this for record sales. We just have these songs in our heart, and we put them out, and hopefully people want to listen to the whole album. And if they do, that's great. If they want to listen to 1 or 2 songs on the internet, that's great too, man. I mean, it's all there for you if you want to hear it.
Great to know that. And with this, can we say that this last album has more rawness than the previous ones?
More rawness?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like they're all tied for last place as far as rawness. I mean, it's not something that we set out to do. Like I said, we don't plan out, we write the songs and they come together the way that they come together, just naturally and organically, so we don't plan out like, all right, the next record, it's going to be super fucking raw, man. I mean, we don't really care about shit like that. You know what I mean? It's just whatever's on the top of our mind at that moment, we write it, we record it, and that's what it is. I mean, it's, I guess it's good that it sounds raw. I'm glad that you feel that it's raw like the old, because there's always that danger as you get older as a band and you put out 4 or 5 albums that you lose that raw edge. I mean, I guess it's good that we're all still on it, and just going for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, into the names of the albums, a curious thing happened because mostly of the album just has one word into the names, because the first one is bones, the third one is disease, and now vomit, and the second one just the only one that has 3 words, songs of the sleaze. So why do you always the time select just one song? I don't know, just one word to put album name. For me, it's very easy because bones, disease, bones, vomit, and bones songs of sleaze. It's very easy to remember all albums.
Yeah, well, and it goes back to the name of the band too. The worst part of starting a band is the fucking band name, right? I mean, like everything that's good is taken. I mean, like the best band name of all time for me is like Venom. It's the best name. I mean, it's so fucking cool. But one word is always, to me, one word names are just always just the best. It's the easiest. Motorhead, Venom, fucking Voivod, like just one word. I mean, it's like Metallica, right? I mean, it's fucking like, it's so huge and it's right there in front of your face. And so it's kind of the same concept with the album titles. I mean, the first one was, we weren't creative enough to come up with a great title. So we just, first album, self-titled album. Sons of Sleaze just sounded really kind of catchy. You know what I mean? Like it just was one of those things where it was gross, it was filthy, it was totally metal, it was totally punk. you know, at the same time, and it sounded cool. But the other ones, I like the idea of one word, but it's deceptively hard to come up with just one word. You know, I mean, most everything's taken, and they have one word that fills up everything. It's just hard to do. But that's what we prefer for sure. Keep it simple.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know if this happened to you because this aspect. I mean, it happened to me. But when I was looking for a name, oh, well, with the name Bones into the Google stuff, searching more info about the band, about everything about well, to do much better this interview. So perhaps the name Bones is very similar. Well, it's the same with this television series
Yeah, that
Bones.
fucking
And
TV show.
yeah, appear a lot. So, but do you have this kind of aspect or I don't know or common opinions about it? Why do you then change the name? Because Bones series television, Bones.
I mean, so and this is how stupid I am. Like when we came up with the name, I didn't even think about that TV show because I never saw that fucking TV show, right? Like that
Me
show,
too. Me too.
that show fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell am I gonna watch that show for? So it didn't even cross my mind that, like, you know, we didn't think about let's come up with a name that if you Google it, it's the only name around. You know, we went to honestly, we had like three names we kind of were trying to fit, you know, three like candidates that we wanted to pick from, and we liked Bones, and I put it into Metal Archives to see if there was another band named Bones, right? Like, go to Metal Archives, they know fucking everything. And at that point, there wasn't another band called Bones, and so we just went with it. But yeah, our guitar player Chris always busts my balls, like, what the fuck, you know? You try to Google Bones, or you put into, you know, and everything else comes up. And I guess it was bad planning, but you know, like I said, we're not marketing guys. We're fucking, you know, bunch of stoner musicians.
Okay. So, well, Bones is, as I said, Bones is in a row and a death metal with elements, a lot of elements cross. But into your sound, you are very original because it's very different than a lot of bands that are now exist. You see Under the Rock and you Under the Rock, 1,000 bands Under the Rock now. It's amazing of that. So for you, what is the biggest distinction the Bones has compared to a lot of previous? For me, as I said, it's cross, death metal, like the old weight, has a lot of rawness there, but I love it.
Yeah, you know, and it's just, you know, the three of us are all into totally different music, right? I mean, we all have a lot of common things that we love, but you know, I love old stuff like The Who, and like, you know, I love 70s punk, and you know, the New York punk, the London punk, like, you know, that whole kind of thing. Crust music's great. I'm not into the politics of crust because I don't think politics and music should really mix. But the music is just so like intense and raw and badass. And then like Joe, the drummer, he's into Rush and like more complicated, more musical bands. Chris loves Van Halen and more guitar bands. And so we just kind of put all that together. You know, we don't care about being, you know, a death metal band in particular or any kind of, we don't care what the label is, you know. So if we have a song that kind of sounds like a death metal song, then cool, we wrote a death metal song. If we have another one that has a little bit of a punk element to it, all right, cool, we have like a hardcore song. You know, if something sounds like a rock and roll song, who gives a shit? We'll fucking do it and just go for it, you know. So I think the main thing is we don't really try to have a certain sound. We just allow ourselves to sound the way that we sound.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm talking about this album and relating with one of questions that I did for you. So for you, which songs capture a whole essence from this vomit? Because if we try to relate the new forms of hearing music, talking about people of 15 or 20 years, these people wants to hear just one song from this new album and then pass to the next band, next band, next band. So for you, if we try to relate this aspect to the new generation, because so why so which songs for you represent all sound from this moment?
I mean, there's not one song that represents the whole album because all the songs kind of represent the whole album, right? It's kind of hard to just pick
Yeah,
one. I mean, you know, I love the first song, Beware of Ghouls. I mean, it's like it's got this beat and it's got this fucking drive and it's great, but there's no guitar solo in that song. You know, the next song, Death Sentence, that's got a great guitar solo in it. You know what I mean? And it's got a great sleazy tone. and it's a different song, but it, you know, for us, every song that we do kind of captures the whole thing. Everything that we have, we put in every song, you know. So what I would love to say is you could pick any song and you could hit play and you're going to hear it and you're going to like it. It might not be exactly the same as the one before it or the one after it, but that's what we sound like.
Great to know. Great to know. So we're very close to this interview, and as I said, and what are the future plans that the band has for this moment? Perhaps tours, videos, or who knows? Talking about tours, perhaps someday we'll come here to Latin America.
We would love to come to Latin America. I mean, absolutely. I mean, we've only done one tour in that was years ago with Coffins in the States. I think that was 2014. And it was short. It was only like 5 shows. But we want to tour. We want to play festivals. We want to get out there. But you know, we're this underground band, and we haven't really cut through. We don't have the big labels. We don't have the big push. We don't have all that kind of stuff. You know, what we do have is years and years of service in underground heavy metal. We would love to come out there. Our old band Usurper, the closest we came to playing it down that way was we played the show in Tijuana. It was just amazing. But we love to go to Mexico, love to go to South America, Europe. We'll fucking play Indiana. We'll go anywhere. We're ready to go.
Okay. Now we're talking about the other aspects. As you can see, well, during the news, the feeds of the social media, you can see now that the artificial intelligence are more present into all records, cover arts, designers, producers, etc., etc. So, as we relate these aspects, how do you see now the future, the music, the future of the music? Because a lot of artificial intelligence are involved now. Adult E, one aspect, the cover art. So, what is your opinion about the artificial intelligence are taking the place of the human aspects in the arts?
I mean, just the whole question, right? Like artificial intelligence, right? I mean, it's fake. It's artificial intelligence, right? I mean, what the fuck, you know? And I don't understand. It seems like you have to figure out. It's like Facebook, right? Or anything. You try to promote yourself, or you want to post something that everybody sees, or release something that everybody wants to hear, that everybody can hear. You have to figure out what the algorithm is so that people can hear you, right? Like in the old days, we would just write a letter or make a phone call or play a show, right? Now it's like you have to time something. You have to figure out what the algorithm is, what the artificial intelligence will tell everyone, you know, that they need to listen to, and it's fucking fucked up. You know what I mean? Is what it is. I mean, you know, there's artificial intelligence in the arts. I mean, you can't program something to make art. You know, you can't program something to make. You can program something to make notes. You can program something to make a picture, but it's not art. You know, art is something that comes from the soul. So I mean, I don't know how to answer that one, because I mean, it's the future is bleak. If that's the way we have to navigate constantly.
Well, yeah. And now, how do you see now the overwhelming show up bands today with a lot of death metal? Do you think that the old school death metal are too saturated to bring new things into the table?
Well, it's hard, you know. I mean, the more you get into a label, whether it's, you know, death metal or black metal or whatever, right? There's so many different variations, but once you get stuck in a hole like that, it's hard to crawl out of. You know, there's already a parameter that's established for what death metal is supposed to sound like. You know, so if you consider yourself a death metal band, you kind of have to sound a certain way to be able to call yourself that. So it is hard to branch out. But like the truth, to me, the best bands have always been the bands that you can't really categorize. You know, I mean, look at a band like Voivod. Like, what are they? You know what I mean? Are they death metal? No. You know, are they like punk? Like a little bit. You know what I mean? They're all over the place. Or like Merciful Fate. Like, are they just a black metal band? You know, I mean, there's so much more than that, right? I mean, what are they? So if you're trying to be in a certain category, you're going to be stuck in that category. You know what I mean? If you don't really give a shit about all that, then just do what you need to do. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Okay. Okay, and perhaps what we are entering into the well, we are in the last part of the year with 3 months, well, 3 last months of the year. So what perhaps do you have time to hear new music, recommendation of new bands? So perhaps do you see more involved into the death metal today?
You know, I haven't. I kind of lost track a little bit. We've been so busy just writing, because we're already writing a new album. So we, you know, when I'm writing music, I try not to listen to a lot of what's going on right now, because I don't want to accidentally like rip somebody off. You know what I mean? Um, and we just went through like 2.5 years of hardly any shows, you know. So a lot of times a show will come to town, you go to the show, there's an opening band, and it's like, holy shit, I never heard of this band before, and they're fucking great, you know. And we've had 2 or 3 years now of no exposure to that, you know, which is too bad. But like new stuff, all I know is like local bands that are coming up that are new. There's a band in Chicago called Molder that's really good. They're younger. There's a band called Junkers. They're younger guys. These are, you know, a generation behind us, but that are definitely, you know, they still are drinking the same water, right? I mean, it's like they're breathing the same contaminated air that we all breathe, and they're putting out great new heavy metal. I mean, it's great to see.
Mm. Okay, now, well, talk relating with the artificial intelligence now. It's interesting now the technology are more involved into the extreme music, especially because as you can see, a lot of YouTuber players, guitar players, drum players, bass players, play like a machine. So that's a curious thing because you and me prefer to hear the music like always, like always, because I'm from the 80s, prefer to hear the music like that. But now the new generation wants to hear the music like a machine. And where is related the artificial intelligence with this?
I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know anything about artificial intelligence, but as far as like the way that people are experiencing music now, it's really interesting, and it's, you know, as an older person, right, as someone that experienced a whole different like medium of music, it's hard to wrap your brain around. You know, like how somebody can just go on YouTube and watch somebody like just shred on bass and like they could be satisfied with that. Like to me, it's confusing, but it is really fascinating. It's really interesting. Maybe this will be like, maybe it's the way of the future. Also, maybe it's kind of like the new current trend, right? I mean, maybe 20 years from now, we'll be like, oh my God, you'll see like some popular YouTube guy and it'll be like, when, you know, you look back and see Max Headroom from the 80s, or like, you know what I mean? Like some old, you know what I mean? Where it'd be like, look at that guy wearing, you know, look at that guy wearing disco clothes from the 70s. You know what I mean? It's a whole different, so it's possible that it'll be like that. But I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't really understand what's going on right now with all that shit.
Yes. There's a lot of things going on. So, well, Jon, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoy these ones like me. So, perhaps I love this. I love your last album, as usually did with the three previous one. So, perhaps you want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metalerium followers.
Just keep the faith, man. I mean, like, you know, let's move up, let's move on. You know, the last 2 years have been fucking shit. And let's listen to music, let's have a good time. Let's fucking just live life, man. That's all there is.